now listening to Vigilantes Radio, presented by the Only One Media Group. This is the people's choice for quality interviews, celebrities, and special guests. Hosted by Demetrius Dinny Reynolds. Call in to join the mix at 701-801-9813. For the complete archive of episodes, visit onlyonemediagroup.com and be sure to like us on Facebook at Vigilantes Radio. We welcome all. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds. Enjoy the show.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to an incredible episode of Vigilantes Radio Live right here on iHeartRadio. And I am your host, Deanie. We have a very special guest for you guys, so you definitely want to stick around for that. And as a matter of fact, text your buddies, family members, or even share it on social media right now and let them know that we are about to dive deep into another interview. Before I bring my guest on, I do want to say that you have to dive in. Look at the world around you and look at your world around yourself. You know, there is so much work to be done. And truly, what a blessing that is, because getting things done is what you do best. Getting things done is what keeps life interesting, fulfilling, and moving forward. You won't get it all done today or tomorrow or next week or next year. But that's a good thing, not a reason for dismay. Just think of how terribly empty life would be if you never had anything to do. How truly fortunate you are to be alive and able to make a difference. Now is an ideal moment to get busy making that difference. Now is a great time to dive in and get to work on all that can be done. If you're overwhelmed by thinking of all there is to be done, stop thinking about it so much and just start working on it. Also, let me just paint a real quick picture for you. If you believe in the story of creation, 7th day of creation, you know that God created the world in steps and not all at once, even though he really could have just did that in one day. But I think he set the blueprint that it's okay to break things down just to get them done the correct way and say, this is good, right? You have the chance to make a real difference for as long as you choose to do so. My name is Coach Deanie, and change is possible. Are you ready? Yes, I am.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Well, let's go.
All right. Again, welcome to the show. You're listening to VRL. That's Vigilantes Radio Live on iHeartRadio, and my name is Deanie. Our interviews are designed to go beyond the music, news, books, art, acting, films, technology, education, entrepreneurship, entertainment, spirituality, and sometimes even past the thing that we call the ego. Our interviews are designed to go behind the scenes and into the minds of these incredible human beings. You know, the ones that were out there giving it their all for me, for you, and for the world. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today's guest brings historical precision, literary depth, and a fresh perspective to one of the most haunting, iconic figures in American letters. Dr. Dwight Thomas, author of Mr. Poe and Dr. Moran, joins us to challenge the myths, break down the mysteries, and reintroduce us to the real Edgar Allan Poe, as seen through the lens of history, medicine, and first-hand accounts. A scholar, veteran, and a storyteller. He's here to enlighten and inspire. So please join me in saying welcome, friend, to Dr. Dwight Thomas. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hi, Deanie, thank you so much for having me. You hearing me all right?
I can. How are you?
Oh, very well. I've got sort of an old computer, which I'm not too sure everything works as it should. I need to upgrade, but I haven't got around to it. My book, Mr. Poe and Dr. Moran, is unlike the popular biographies that you are likely to come across first and just about any place you can look, which is sort of books which are written to be sort of read like a novel, and in fact they do sort of novelistic. They have a lot of fictional elements. I'm sort of constrained by authentic documents, and I'm constructing a book which reads like a novel, but isn't a novel. In fact, it's pretty much 100% nonfiction. It's intended to be a reference book for anything you wanted to know about Poe, and it's also a medical history, and it has some very good illustrations. It solves the main mystery, which has sort of troubled scholars for the past 175 years. What was the cause of Poe's death? And of course, I think you can solve the mystery of Poe's death if you know the historical documents, and you also know all about the symptoms, which you have to know a great deal about historical medicine. The title refers to Dr. John J. Moran, M.D., who was the physician who treated Poe during the last several days of his life in his Baltimore hospital. He was a pre-scientific physician. He didn't know anything that a pre-scientific physician means. He didn't have a stethoscope. He didn't know anything about x-rays. He didn't know that much about anything. But one thing he did do was to write a personal letter which describes the causes, Poe's symptoms in his hospital. He got to see Poe on October the 3rd, 1849, which is about 5 weeks after Poe made a public proclamation of temperance by joining an organization called the Sons of Temperance in Richmond. Poe, of course, was an alcoholic. He was severely alcoholic, but most people were immediately turned off by the term alcoholism because they don't envision people of, who are Skid Row or people drinking from a brown paper bag on a park bench. That's the visible image of alcoholism. Poe would be classified in the category of people who are high performance alcoholics, were people who are very highly disciplined and very ambitious, very intelligent, but otherwise they get into a pattern of alcohol consumption, which is frankly like a disease. It's like a fatal disease. In other words, it's going to kill you if you keep it up long enough. This is not a moral just condemnation. I'm very much influenced by the work of E.M. Jelinek, who in 1960 wrote a book called The Disease Concept of Alcoholism, which is still very relevant today. Not that Jelinek solved all the problems involved with alcohol consumption, but he observed patterns of consumption which we need to think about. On the one hand, there's a delta alcoholic. This is somebody who consumes alcohol sort of round the clock, and then never appears to be intoxicated because he's assuming alcohol in small doses, maybe 4 or 5 times a day. He used the example of the patriotic Frenchman who put down 2 liters of red wine every day. Started drinking wine at breakfast and had another shot of wine when the people are having a coffee break. Somehow he's getting sort of the equivalent of almost a fifth of liquor in the form of red wine. These people can be very deceiving because they seem to be very healthy, and they don't show any symptoms of intoxication at any time. In the American version of the Delta alcoholic, you have the mover and shaker in Hollywood or Wall Street or wherever you have it in politics, somebody who starts off his day with a Bloody Mirror, which is sort of a fruit juice with a sort of 8 ounces of vodka, and then goes on to make it through to the 2 martini lunch, and then into the cocktail hour. and then on, to having a couple more drinks before supper, and then finally a nightcap. Somebody's maybe putting on a fifth of hard liquor every day. These people very often rise to the heights of society, either in Hollywood or Wall Street or whatever. And of course, what is going to happen to them and how they're going to die is they're going to get into liver failure at age 50. They're going to need a liver transplant. Poe was a different type of alcoholic disease, which Jelinek called a gamma alcoholic. These are people that sort of go on to binge drinkings and drink till they're incapacitated, and afterwards they spend a couple days in bed, and they wake up and they recover, and they're resolved to abstain. The gamma alcoholic is someone using a American terminology. It's someone who goes on the wagon, someone who tries to abstain. This doesn't work too well for people who are living as Poe lived in a society where hard liquor was everywhere and you couldn't refuse a drink without giving offense. In fact, if you, in the 1840s, in the sort of circles Poe moved in, if you refused to have a drink with somebody, you were sort of like slapping them in the face, and you would like to get challenged to a duel or something like that. So Poe, in 1849, gets to be August 27th, he took the pledge of temperance, and this didn't happen because he was on his way to Philadelphia, got stopped in Baltimore, and had something to drink. And so what he was found in a polling place on October the 3rd, 1849, in a sort of stuporous condition. What we know about that, what happened is that Dr. Moran on the following month wrote a personal letter with a detailed description of Poe's illness, which, of course, if you look at it, this is not what he later said. It's not encephalitis, it's not trauma, it's not exposure. It's alcohol withdrawal delirium, which is the sort of the worst form of alcohol withdrawal, which happens to people who have been alcoholic for about 10 years, happens to gamma alcoholics as they get into early middle age. They're likely to have extremely exotic, really disturbing symptoms of sweating profusely, right, and conducting conversations with sort of imaginary little animals they see underneath the bed or crawling on the walls. This is a very characteristic thing in Dr. Moran's 1849 letter is pretty much as good a textbook description you will get of delirium tremens without treatment in the pre-scientific era when you didn't know what to do about it. Of course, these days people are going to the hospital with a delirium tremens. They don't let them get to the point of going into delirium because they give them intravenous benzodiazepines like what do you call forget all these things, but I mean they're drugs which produce sedation, and this Moran wasn't through, and of course my book is sort of an expose of describing sort of definitively all the funny things which people said to come up with another diagnosis other than delirium tremens, because in the 1870s and the 1880s, and of course the main reform movement was something called prohibitionism. Prohibition, they wanted to not just as all alcohol was a poison, they were going to pass a constitutional amendment to get rid of it. they eventually did that in 1919. They passed the constitutional amendment. The 18th Amendment went into effect in 1920, which made all forms of, essentially, to take alcohol, any sort of alcoholic beverages, out of American society, which was such a complete flop that we sometimes forget exactly how powerful the prohibitionist movement was. But this book has to be, it's supposed to read like a novel, but then it is also something of a scientific knowledge, which is also supposed to be readable. There's not too many people can do that. Most people are not quite prepared of what I've tried to do. A lot of things in one little book. Actually, it's not so little, but as you can check it out on Amazon.com, which gives you a good idea of the size of the book, and perhaps you can get it at a reduced price. It certainly is a book which is not destined to that you would want to throw away next month or next year, but something which you would want to keep, both for its content and the sort of solid information it has, which doesn't go out of date. This has been about 175 years since Poe's death, and I think I have explained this as well as someone would ever explain it. But of course, there are a lot of people that would like to attack me, and I would be happy if they do that. So if you can't get a good review, at least you get a bad review. But most people don't read books today. You got 300 television stations, and at any time of the day or night, you can always look at a football game or something. So the people who are interested in something which is a little bit authentic and has some great deal of reference to today's society, and I think the book has reference to today's society. My grandmother used to tell me, don't go out in the rain, you catch your death of pneumonia, you'll get TB, because she was born, I think, like in the 1880s and grew up before the turn of the century, before 1900, and of course in the year 1900, most young people died prematurely of infectious diseases like pneumonia or tuberculosis. They didn't have any cure for them, any antibiotics. And these days, the problem of addictive behavior, most people are more concerned about some form of addiction. This book shows you, for certain people, at least alcohol can be as addictive as a synthetic opiate, like fentanyl or heroin or something.
Yeah.
And so I think that people would enjoy reading that. And I tried to make this as readable as I could, but then it's a scholarly biography, but it's sort of presented as a readable novel. I hope I did a fairly good job on that. Most of the early reviews on Amazon.com of people that were receptive to reading the book would find that it reads very well, and this was designed to be a book that you can read, and you might have to read, for example, if your power goes out and you can't get your Netflix online or something. But anyway, I didn't want to take up too much of your time about this, because I sort of wander on endlessly with it. The topic, it's a very complicated book, has a lot of facets to it, and it has the hardcover edition has a good index as well as illustrations, and it will repay the modest cost for the book. So I would like to recommend it to your listeners and to anybody else who wants to pick a fight with me. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir, you're welcome. I do just have one final question for you. The book serves as both a biography and a reference tool. What kind of reader did you have in mind while writing this?
I had some reference tools are written primarily for people who are academics in the field, and they reference either to people that are specialists, for example, in addiction medicine or in 19th century American literature. I tried to write for people who would be intelligent undergraduates or just intelligent laypersons, or some connection to Poe, and had a book of Poe's stories or his poems on the bookshelf, might like a companion volume, which is guaranteed to be as authentic as you can get. I don't depart from authentic documents. I may speculate, but the speculation is always based on another document which is authentic, because some people are inevitably going to question whether the document is authentic, but that's the problem with writing history and biography. You're assuming that people have photographic memories and that they are absolutely unbiased, and that is almost never the case, and they have faulty recollections, and the bias when people write letters or they write their memoirs or they write histories, the bias is always there. I tried to get away from that as much as possible. In my book, at least, I've given an alternative to some. I bet not mention the popular biographies with sort of having, Poe impregnating somebody else's wife and that sort of thing. But I'm constrained by documents, and none of that is in the documents. That is sort of the 20th century person sort of giving their impressions based on their, in other words, they're writing and they go Hollywood as they write, and they're putting in some stuff, but I don't do that because I have a reputation as a scholar, and I would like to preserve it. Any further questions?
No, sir. No, sir. We will have the link to this book in the description of this episode and in the show notes, so be sure to grab your copy of Mr. Poe and Dr. Moran, a medical biography of Edgar Allan Poe. Available everywhere now. Don't forget to subscribe to Vigilantes Radio, leave a rating, and show love by dropping a tip at buymeacoffee.com/Vigilantes Radio. And most importantly, share this episode with every intellect, every Poe fan, scholar, and literary junkie in your life. Until next time, keep asking questions and keep the culture alive. Thank you so much, Dr. Dwight.
Oh, all right. Deanie, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Peace to all. My name is Deanie, and I am the host of Vigilantes Radio Live. I think that we are beyond just asking cool questions and getting cool responses. I think that we are here as creatives to provide an example that you can do things different outside of expectations, because some of us simply were not born into the club, but there is perhaps a door, window, or back gate that we can leave a clue for you to get into. Life is short, but there are plenty of moments to try and get it right. Pursuing your dreams and learning from mistakes may be tough, but regret is tougher. To book your interview, email us at vradio@onlyonemediagroup.com. That's a V as in victorious. Or visit onlyonemediagroup.com. I'm counting on you. Heaven, we all are counting on you to step into your purpose and your passion. You are listening to Vigilantes Radio Live on iHeartRadio, providing you with an opportunity to dive deeper.
You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, the people's choice for quality interviews, art, music, and hot topics. Hosted by Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds. All episodes of this podcast are available for free download at www.onlyonemediagroup.com.